Sexually transmitted infections. The first time I heard about this was in school when we were being taught about HIV, sexual reproduction, but of course, these things being taught and experiencing things in real life be the same. So the first time I think I ever really started to understand was when I was in high school and we'd come back from the holidays, and some of my friends and I were sexually active. We had boyfriends or whatever, and we would do sexual stuff. But there was this one girl who, and she came back and she had this smell. It was like sijui could describe, but many people say like fish, so I can liken it fish that's rotting. And all of us in the feel that she was smelling like angepanwa miguu, you could tell the smell was quite unbearable. But you see, because we were young and we didn't have the right words to communicate, we didn't know how to talk about sex, we didn't know how to, we just didn't have the language for it or even how to discuss it. It wasn't something that couldn't easily tell her, yo, sis, there's something wrong. And at that age, most girls, it was easier to talk behind her back and gossip instead of just telling her straight up. But this is something that was real and it's something that was happening. And something I learned about it is you might not necessarily smell it on yourself, but everyone else can smell it around you. And so, me, I had never experienced it personally until when I was around 20 years old. This time I was like in uni and I was dating some loser. This guy really destroyed my life. I've talked about him before here. Most people who are in my life at that time know who I'm talking about. But this guy, anytime he was my boyfriend, but anytime I would have sex with him, after a few days, I would smell so bad. Like my vagina would smell so bad. So bad. It was itchy. It was horrible. The discharge was it was just so bad. And it destroys your self-esteem because you're not able to leave the house anymore. You're always self-conscious, wondering, if I go outside, will I smell like that? Can people smell it on me? Na kama hujui nini na happen, kama hujakuwa aware na ujarada, you just think, you also learn about things like yeast infections. You never really think you have an STI or you could have an STI or anything like that. You just think, maybe ni miss kuoga vizuri. So imagine up to now, I don't even know if I had an STI because I could never. My mom is a medic and we were all under her insurance. So there was no way I was going to use my insurance card to go to the hospital. She'll be notified and she'd be aware. And imagine if she found out her 19-year-old kid was having sex. I mean, maybe, I don't know if she knew or whatever, but imagine if she found out that way that I was going to get checked for STIs. Imagine. And I didn't have money at that time, so I couldn't really go to the hospital. And I wasn't attributing it to having sex with my then boyfriend. I just thought it was an issue I had with myself. It was something wrong with me. But then when I stopped having sex with him, like I intentionally told myself, I'm not sleeping with this guy anymore. And when I would stop, the smell would go away. But anytime I sleep with him like this, it would come back. So I started doing my own research on finding out, and I found out maybe it could be chlamydia or trichomoniasis or just a normal yeast infection, but I couldn't really ever tell because I never went to the hospital to get checked for it. Thank goodness it wasn't anything serious, because imagine if I ended up with something serious. And when I was 23, about 4 years later, again, I was dating a 33-year-old man and I was 23. Where those days I used to think this man was in love with me. But then, even with him, immediately we stopped using a condom. That shit started happening to me again. A weird smell, weird discharge, just weirdness. And then when I stopped sleeping with him, it would go away. Me, I didn't know this was a way of my body telling me, you're not supposed to be sleeping with this man. Something is wrong. I never really thought about it like that. I just used to blame myself. I used to think ni mimi siogi, ni mimi sikuli vizuri, because those days I actually did have bad habits. I was participating in risky behavior. I used to drink alcohol. So I never really thought ati it was them, because when you're in a relationship, you're just hoping, and kwanza when you're young and naive and in love, you're just hoping this other person loves you the same way and they respect you the same way. So I never really, it never crossed my mind these men were having sex with other women, like other multiple women. And this is why I'm really big on monogamy, because I would never intentionally sleep with a man who's sleeping with other people. Never. I don't care whether you're using a condom that shields you like the blood of Jesus. I don't care whether that condom was made from leather. I will never intentionally sleep with a man who's sleeping with other people. And if I find it out, I will leave you immediately, because I have suffered the consequences of being in situations with men who are not your boyfriend, and they tell you, but you're not my girlfriend. So he can sleep with other people while you're there being faithful, waiting for him to come back and fuck you. Hell no, I'm not doing that ever again in my life, because the anxiety of consistently wondering what's wrong with my vagina, being scared to even go to the hospital and tell them that I'm actively having sex and this is what I feel. The first time I ever went to the hospital about my vagina, it was very embarrassing, even trying to explain to the doctor what I was going through. I mean, of course, they were kind and respectful and nice, but just having to go through that, it was just horrible for me. And I never want to be in such a situation where nashuku maisha yangu ya sex. I'm never doing that again. It's just overall a very horrible experience. So that's my experience with sex with men who sleep with other people, then they come back to sleep with me. And that's why I'm very strict about it. I'd rather remain abstinent than have sex with someone who's having sex with other people. That's just how I feel. So let's talk about STIs, what they are, how you catch them, how you treat them, how you notice them, etc., so that we can become more informed by this. An STI is a sexually transmitted infection, which is a disease that is spread through sexual contact or through sexual fluids or through touching and bumping of like sexual parts. Even oral, even if you could put your mouth on someone's penis and get herpes from it. That's why you have to be really careful kissing with these people who have like herpes on their mouth, herpes on their hands. You never really know who has what. That's why you always have to be vigilant, have to be very careful. Some people will tell you, let me just put my dick in your ass. It won't get you, bro. It will also get you sick. If he's sick, it's going to get you sick. If you put it in your mouth, put it in your anus, put it in your vagina, you'll get sick. Other methods of transmission are like through infected materials, like guys sharing needles, through things like blood transmissions, through mother to kid during birth, or like breastfeeding. So there's multiple ways to catch STIs: sexual fluids, sexual contact, bump sexual parts. By sexual fluids, I mean also blood, hence the blood transmissions. So examples of STIs are like chlamydia, chancroid, pubic lice, genital herpes, hepatitis, trichomoniasis, HIV, gonorrhea, syphilis, scabies, and human papilloma virus. Kuna zingine. Na hizi STIs ziko, some are parasitic, some are bacterial, some are viral. You need to know that the viruses cannot really be treated or cured. They can just be managed. So if you catch hepatitis B, HPV, HIV, hizo zenye ni viruses, chances are, or herpes, chances are you're going to live with them forever, for the rest of your life. You're always going to have them in your body. It's just a matter of, are they active or are they not active? And the thing with STIs is, at first akunanga symptoms really. Now, while others are curable, others are not curable. So you also have to be really careful, because the ones, they don't show symptoms right off, like right off the bat. And genitals are a very conducive environment for the growth of parasites, viruses, and bacteria. Moisture, it's very conducive for, if you don't get it treated, if you don't get medical attention immediately, it can worsen. And some of these conditions, they are really horrible, because like for the mother to child, when you have things like gonorrhea or herpes, your kids can grow up with infections already. It affects their eyes, they become blind from gonorrhea, they have all these issues. So you need to always get screened, always get tested, always know your health and the status of your body. Some of the most common ways of transmitting STIs is through unprotected sex, having sex without a condom, having multiple sexual partners, having sex with a lot of people, sharing needles. And that's why I'm always saying, yo, you need to know about your sexual partner. And you're not going to know about them if you guys do not communicate, you guys do not have discussions about sex, or if you're just having sex risky without knowing who you're fucking or without caring about who you're fucking. Some of the symptoms you need to look out for are things like painful burning during urination or itchiness, pain or discomfort during sex, unusual smelling or looking discharge. Sometimes your discharge is green, sometimes it's brown, sometimes it's yellow, sometimes it's white and chunky. You need to know what these different discharges mean. And if it's smelling or looking unusual, then something is wrong. Fever, lower abdominal pain, unusual bleeding from your penis or your vagina, sores, bumps, rashes around your anus, thighs, hips, vagina, penis. So even before you fuck or you put that dick in your mouth, bro, you need to look at it and examine it. You need to know this umse anakaa sawa, anakaa ko sawa, because STIs cannot really be diagnosed just from symptoms. You can't just look at someone and know they have an STI. That's why things like screening has to be done, and it's important. You need blood tests, samples from body fluids, so that you're able to tell exactly what viruses or like bacteria you have in your body. And that's basically the best way to get screened and get treated. That's the best way to find out if you're safe and if you have or don't have an STD. So, like I told you guys, some of these STIs are curable and some of them are not. The viral ones are not. It's just about managing them and living life with them. And I'd like if more people are able to come out and have these discussions, because they make us understand better. They make us able to manage STIs. It makes it easier for us to be able to talk about it, because so many people have STIs, so many people live with herpes, so many people have HPV, so many people have HIV. But if we're all scared to go get tested or have actual real discussions about them, we're all stuck in this bubble where it's like it's not real and it's not happening. But then remember, we're still engaging in risky behavior and having multiple sexual partners without even being able to disclose to them. Not necessarily because you're hiding your status, but just because you don't even know yourself. You don't know if you have HIV or you don't. So, how will you take care of yourself and everyone else around you? The best ways to protect yourself from STI is, number one, is always abstinence. Abstaining from sex. Abstain. Maybe that's what I normally do. That's the best one. And if you do decide to have sex, use protection, use condoms. People will tell you, oh, inanifinya, ni ndogo. Bro, hizi condoms zinezanga kutoshea a whole forearm. Kutoka kwa mkono mpaka, kutoka kwa fingers mpaka kwa elbow. So unless someone has a bigger dick than a whole arm, condoms will always fit. There's different sizes. Also, if you're too big. But if someone starts giving you excuses that mina kwanga allergic, sijui mina nini nini, please be wary, because that's how some people are on this earth with a mind of vengeance. They're here to destroy you because they've been destroyed by other people who didn't disclose to them. So you can never be too trusting, especially with your body. Have one partner, have one sexual partner that you trust, that you know their history, you know their tests, they disclose with you, you guys have had discussions about sex. It makes it so much easier to relate with them than multiple partners who you don't know where they're from. And basically, it's just about you caring for yourself. Like, if you have love for yourself, you're not going to throw yourself to just anybody that you know nothing about and let your coochies bump without knowing where they've been, what they've been doing, things like that. Avoiding drugs. Listen, you guys, I know how my podcast sounds these days. It sounds like I'm the older auntie who's always preaching and telling people what to do, but that's not really the case. It's just about, if you're not engaging in drugs, then you're able to curb risky behavior. You're able to control how you engage in sex. You're going to reduce the risk that it takes when you're engaging in sex. And that's just basically what I think. So if you have any questions for me about STDs, sexually transmitted infections, feel free to reach out, ask me any questions, reach out in my email, in my DMs. Please, let's get screened, let's get tested, let's take care of our bodies so that sex is more enjoyable and fun instead of anxiety inducing. Bye bye.